Hi, my name is John, and we're going to solve Fizzbuzz using recursion. So, what is recursion? Recursion is a function that calls upon itself. So if I did this, um, we have this function, and within the function, it is calling itself. That's it. Awesome. Um, why do we want to do recursion? Well, there's two reasons why. Number one is that some programming languages you have to use recursion instead of a loop. Why? Because in a functional programming language, uh, variables can't change. So if I do this, in languages like Java, JavaScript, and Ruby, and Python, you can happily do this. But in functional programming languages like Elixir, like F Sharp, Haskell, you can't do that. Why? It's just the way how the function works. The idea of a function is that you have one input and that input produces exactly one output. So in a functional programming language, once you make this statement, X can never change. Now, why is that problematic when you do a loop? Well, because in a loop, you are constantly changing the value of a variable. If you read what this statement says, it says the initial value of I is 1, and when that value of 1 is equal to or less than 5, increment the value of 1 after every time you execute this block. That increment, you're mutating the value of the variable, and in most programming languages, especially object-oriented languages, that's absolutely fine. But in the functional paradigm of functional programming, this breaks it completely. And then the second smaller reason is that I think recursion, a recursive function, just looks neater. And what I mean by that, well, what I mean by that is you could have a value x, and the function in here can look like this. That looks a lot neater, doesn't it? I think so. Anyways, let's go on to Fizzbuzz. So Fizzbuzz is this classic problem right here. Your whiteboard interview might be a little bit different, but I just want to stick with the strict definition. Write a program that prints numbers 1 through 100. If it's divisible by 3, replace that number with Fizz. If that number is divisible by 5, replace it by Buzz. If the number is divisible by 3 and 5, print Fizzbuzz. So we're just going to do this, and we're going to do this using recursion. So, here's our JavaScript function. We're doing JavaScript because JavaScript is the language of the web. And I started out with X. So you could do this. I'd highly recommend not to. If you want to solve Fizzbuzz using one parameter, well, there lies madness. So what you want to do is start off with 1. This is going to be your starting number, and this is going to be your ending number. I'm going to word it a little bit differently. This is just how my mind works. Is you want to start at 1, therefore you want to print 1. So I'm going to call the first argument print number, because this is the number we want to print. I'm going to call the second argument step number, because this is the number of steps we want to do. And that makes sense. We want to print 100 numbers, that's step number, and the actual number we're going to print is going to be print number. Makes sense to me. That means in our recursive function, what we want to do is we want to increment our print number by 1, and we want to step down our print number by 1. Yeah. Now, just really quick, this is something I learned. You don't want to do this because then your program breaks. So if you do like print num plus plus semicolon, that's absolutely fine. You could just go ahead and replace it like that. So this is fine. but for some reason this is not fine. And I think it has something to do with the semicolon. Like a semicolon completes the line, but for here, sorry, but for here, because it's part of a function, it just doesn't work the same way, and that's how your code breaks. But let's go ahead, for simplicity's sake, do this, right? Okay. So let's just start one step at a time, right? We just want to print numbers 1 through 100. Okay, easy enough. We want to print it to our console. We want to do print num at a semicolon. Let's go ahead and test this out. Yeah, let's go ahead and test this out. So I need, okay, so it goes off into infinity because we didn't consider a break statement. I guess in JavaScript it's called a return statement. So let's go ahead and write one out really quick. So if step number is equal to 0, then return nothing. And that's our break statement. If we're de-incrementing our step number by 1, eventually it's going to reach 0. If it reaches 0, just go ahead and break the function. Because that's the thing about recursive problems, is that unless you have a break statement or a return statement, it's going to just go on into infinity. So let's go ahead and try this out. Awesome, we got our 1 through 100. Sweet. So our next step of the problem is we want to replace numbers that are divisible by 3 with fizz. So let's go ahead and do that. It's going to be as simple as if print number moduloed by 3 equals 0. So what this means is if you divide a number by 3 and the remainder is 0, execute this block. Really simple. So for example, let's go ahead and if a number is moduloed by 2, that's going to equal 1 because 2 fits into 3 one time, you got a remainder of 1. Awesome. So let's go ahead and complete our block statement, which is going to be if it's divisible by 3, go ahead and print fizz. Okay. As you can see, it still prints out 3 instead of fizz. So we're going to have to go ahead and do an else statement where this is true. And that should fix the problem. Yep, fixes the problem like this. So let's go ahead and do the same for 5. So else if it's divisible by 5, go ahead and print buzz. So just like that. Let's go ahead and try it out. So we got fizz, 1, 2, 3 fizz, awesome. 4, 5 buzz, 6 fizz, awesome. Cool. Now, next we want to do Fizzbuzz if it's divisible by 3 and 5. So the least common, what is it like? Yeah, the least common multiple, whatever. So the smallest number we could get that's both divisible by 3 and 5 is 15. That's going to be right here. And we can see it's fizz. The reason why it's fizz is because when the program is read, it reads fizz first, executes it, and then goes straight to this part right here. Let's go ahead and indent. it's going to go ahead and execute this part first, completely ignoring the buzz, completely ignoring the print number. So when we're going to do 15, we have to go ahead and put 15. We have to go ahead and put 15 before 3 and 5. So let's go ahead and do that. So print num when it's divisible by 3. Oh, well, we could do this, right? Or we could do something a little bit cooler, in my opinion. When it's divisible by 3 and when it's divisible by 5. Yeah, I like this a lot better. So that's pretty cool, right? Console.log Fizzbuzz. So we want to turn this into an else statement. If we leave it like this, let's see what's going to happen. Yeah, you see 15, it kind of throws it off. So we have to turn this into an else statement. All right, let's see what happens. 3 is fizz, 6 is buzz. No, 3 is fizz, 5 is buzz, 6 is fizz, 15 is Fizzbuzz, 30 is Fizzbuzz. That is sweet. And this answers the problem. So, as you can see, solving a Fizzbuzz problem, it's a bunch of if statements, a bunch of if-else statements, a bunch of else statements. To do it recursively, all you need to do is slap on a function, and you just got to increment or de-increment by 1. So recursion is just one of those computer science concepts that is tricky at first when you're introduced to it, but over time becomes easier to do. Alright then, thank you for watching my video. Have a nice day.